Welcome to the 15th Annual Applied Internship Panel. My name is Kristen Livingston, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Communication here at Pitt State University. Joining me today are four lovely ladies who have had experiences in the field, either in the spring or this past summer of 2024, out in the field of strategic communication and the opportunities that are relative to their degree programs. So without further ado, I'm going to have them introduce themselves. So I guess to my right.
Hi, my name is Shelby Sogard. I'm a junior here at Pitt State, and I had an internship with my local government, Shawnee, Kansas.
My name is Hope Rainey. I am a senior and graduate student here in the Department of Communication in Stratcom, and I did my internship at T-Mobile headquarters in Overland Park.
Hi, my name is Annie Perez. I'm a senior here at Pitt State, and I did my past internship this summer at J.E. Dunn Construction.
I'm Olivia Tavernero. I'm a senior here at Pitt State, also Stratcom, and I had my internship at Blush Fitness KC.
Wonderful. I'm so happy that you ladies are joining us today. So just to get us started, we're going to talk a little bit about the interview process because that is one of probably the most stressful experiences that students can, going into it, they find it to be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. So Hope, let's start with you. What were some of your expectations going into the interview process, and what are some tips that you would have for anybody that are going out into the field, even if it's for a full-time job and or an internship?
Yeah, so my experience with T-Mobile, it was actually a 3-step interview process. It was a little bit lengthy. So I did it like an interview basically over an email, and then I had with a couple people on my team, kind of a virtual one, and then with the boss, I would have been on my team. And so definitely just kind of spaced out. It was kind of like, what do I expect? But something that they did really, really well for that, which kind of helped with the expectation part, was they told me, hey, here's some questions ahead of time that you can kind of be thinking about, being prepared for this future interview. And so they had really good communication and kind of the expectation part for that, which was really nice. Some advice that I would give is definitely just kind of have your resume in front of you. Something that I was just kind of like, I gotta really have that good first impression or this interview, and so having my resume in front of me, I was like, what have I done? And so it was good just to kind of like, okay, I've done this and I've done that, and I can kind of go in further of my involvement and kind of experiences. So I would definitely have either a digital or a physical copy right in front of you. That's something that really helped me.
Excellent, excellent. And Shelby, working for government, how was the process? Was it any different than how Hope described? How was it for you?
It was actually pretty normal in my experience. If anything, it was really like a smaller organization. So it had the whole team, just one conference kind of interview. And that was really cool because they didn't have the big wig mayor. They just had the director of communication and then the people that worked under it, which is it's crazy because it's the whole department, but it was still really cool to meet everybody and already dip in my toes to that. But also I brought in my portfolio, and so typically they saw a lot of digital portfolios, but I brought hard copies to make them look at it, so I thought that was pretty cool.
That's a really innovative and smart move on your part.
Thank you.
I would appreciate that as an employer. Olivia and Annie, anything to add to the interview processes from which you guys had?
Something that I found most valuable is to also be personable during interviews. I feel like not putting up a front and showing your true personality is a huge grabber, and if I made them laugh, that's the kind of thing that they'll remember you for. So that's my biggest advice, is to just be personable and really let your personality come through then.
Good. Annie, anything else?
Not on that,
no. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about jobs specifically. Annie, can you talk about some of the skills, possibly from strategic communication, that you applied at your job, and maybe even talk about some classes that were helpful in preparing you for that?
So my job this summer was definitely not something that I would have gone into given the strategic communication emphasis. It was more about community outreach and kind of event planning, which is my minor, so that did help. But honestly, having that strategic communication background helped a lot, because a lot of it was going out and meeting nonprofits that we support as a company, and then building those relationships with them and deciding where we want to put our money and that kind of thing. And I think one of the classes that I would definitely emphasize to really make sure you're paying attention in is when we do IEC or media writing and copy, because I cannot stress how important writing is, and grammar, because people do pick up on those things, and if you can't put a comma in the right place, I think people are going to notice that, and they'll definitely call you out for it, I think, but also just having that like Adobe experience, because a lot of people, while it's so easy to use Canvas and things like that, or Canva, Adobe is really what they're looking for, and having that hard set of skills and using that.
Excellent, excellent. How about you, Olivia?
Yeah, so some skills from strategic communication that I used most were graphics. I made graphics constantly. Paying attention when you were teaching me how to navigate Canva and Adobe, just like what Annie said, I think that was very valuable. I was on it every single day and trying to make something that didn't look like everybody else's graphics, really. So I think paying attention in those classes and getting those hardcore like skills with Adobe and Canva were very important to me.
Excellent, excellent. How about you two? Anything else to add skill-wise?
Yeah. So for the T-Mobile internship, we have to do like a capstone internship project. And so for mine, I really used the strategic planning class that we took last year, and all the skills we learned. Also with like media writing and copy, I ran like the T-Mobile social media this summer as part of my job, and so I got to use that creative side. But then for my project, I got to actually build a strategic communication and marketing plan for my team. And so literally using strat planning as like what we did all semester. I got to present that to our organization, and then do that in real life was just super applicable, great experience, and my team is like still using that even though I'm gone. So it's just really cool to kind of see that domino effect, and like they truly cared about it. They walked me through it. I got to learn and meet so many people throughout the entire like organization, just to make sure all of my things were ready to go. So yeah, definitely strat planning was huge for that experience.
Very good, very good. How about you, Shelby?
Even with like kind of what she was going off of with like strat planning, I haven't taken that class yet, but like I've learned like in the intro courses, like here's how to, set out a marketing campaign and stuff like that. So I did a lot of those. Also, like as those two were saying down there, it's like more like Adobe skills and design skills. And like IEC definitely helped me get that job, because like in that class I created a brochure for my hometown, which I got to then show them, and they were like, wow, this is really cool. So yeah.
Yay, that's awesome. We're going to start talking about like some of the challenges, because internships can bring so many great opportunities. They can help enhance your skill set, especially as college students, but also they can bring some challenging, parts that you have to learn how to navigate. So Hope, what do you think was the most challenging part of your internship at T-Mobile, or were there any barriers that you had to overcome while on the job?
Yeah, the biggest one for me, my position was actually in HR. So kind of something different than what I've really like been interested in before, had experience in. Never done all internal, I've always done external. And so kind of switching gears to the more internal focus and the HR side, and my team within HR was engagement recognition. So it's very heavy on event planning and just people, which I thrive on, but just in a different way. And so definitely kind of having it, once again, just to switch gears to that, which something was a little bit of a challenge. And then on top again, like my project, I was like, how do I apply what I know to a department I've never been in before? And so definitely took some time to kind of figure out that project and kind of those logistics. That was the biggest challenge. It all worked out, of course, but definitely the biggest challenge for me.
Good, good. How about you, Shelby?
I definitely say like the biggest challenge was figuring out like all of the government stuff. Like there are so many laws and stuff in place for just like every social media post has to go through like a team of people to accept it, and like it's just it's a whole different process. And like it was tough for me. Another thing that was really tough was asking for help. In a professional setting, like you're gonna go in thinking, oh, okay, this is your boss, you should be scared of them. But no, it's so like they realize this is an internship, and so they want to help you learn, and they realize that you are a student like trying to gain knowledge in the field.
Good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. How about you two? Annie, Olivia?
I think one thing was a little bit more, for me at least, was a little bit more on like the personal side of like that imposter syndrome, even as an intern. Like the company was so big and so successful, and I think a little part of me, seeing the other interns that went to like very prestigious universities or came from private, really wealthy places or things like that, I was like, oh, am I not good enough to be here? Or just kind of like, can I do this job as well as these people could do this job, if that makes any sense? But I had to kind of get over that and just learn to be a little bit more confident in my abilities and what I could do.
Very good.
So.
Very good. Olivia, any?
Yeah, I faced a huge challenge when going through the interview process, actually. I think my biggest advice also is to check who you are interviewing with, because I interviewed with a company that, it was a 3-part interview, lengthy. They made it come off like super prestigious and like up there. And then the whole thing was a lie. So I think that was the biggest challenge I faced, but I turned it around within a week, networked my way into another internship, and I mean, it was a setback for sure, but I learned more from it, and everything happens the way it's supposed to. But definitely just checking who you're interviewing with and doing a little background check on the companies.
I think that's excellent advice because there is so much out there, especially on LinkedIn, and a lot of companies, they're probably seeking different types of, I would say, workers, and then you go through the internship, or you go to the interview process, and you have these expectations. And so I think doing heavy research yourself on those companies, even asking people who have worked at those companies online, I think that's all part of the process. And because the way that they can present that stuff, as you found out, is super. And I mean, anybody.
I thought it was legit.
Yeah, I mean, and that happened. I mean, that happens a lot, and it's kind of sad that that's something that you have to deal with. But as you stated, and something I want to piggyback off of, is the importance of networking. The fact that you rebounded so fast, I think it speaks to you as a student and as a person to kind of switch your path and end up with something that is as lucrative as what you thought you were getting yourself into from the get-go.
Yeah.
So very good. Kudos to you for
Thank you.
going with the punches. That leads me to, and anybody can answer this question if you feel like it, the importance of networking. I know your instructors will sit there and they'll nail it on the head, the importance of networking, but how important was networking to you in getting these positions?
I mean, that's how I got my position. I was a part of this community at Blush Fitness, and I would just talk to my trainer every day. I would talk to everybody in the class. I mean, I was sitting there having a conversation, telling them what had just happened to me. My trainer was like, we will make something for you. Like, because I've been a loyal customer of theirs for years, and I knew all of them, and they were like, come to our social media. You are obviously qualified, and I mean, we want this for you. And I mean, me just talking about it with them got me that position. So I think it's very important.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think as far as networking goes, to obtain the internship I had, it was through LinkedIn, and so it was just an interview process, a lengthy one, but still just an interview process, so there wasn't much like interpersonal or a whole lot of communication beforehand. But I think one thing that I did during my job was have to network with other people a lot just to fulfill the duties within my role, because I would have to communicate with people from nonprofits or companies in order to get to the outcome of this goal that I needed to achieve. So I would have to be like, oh, I need to contact this person from the Chamber of Commerce, and she'll know how to, and just kind of building those relationships was so essential to the success in my position.
Gotcha. Very good.
My experience is very similar to Annie's. Mine's just more on the internal side. So I applied, and my position was on LinkedIn. That's how I kind of found out about it, did all the interviews. It was great, get the position. But my networking, again, started once I had the internship, and I was rocking and rolling throughout the summer. And I actually got the opportunity to go to our second headquarters location in Seattle. So I got to meet the CEO and all these higher ups over there too. So just lots of just in-person connection building, even in a whole different part of the state. I mean, there's just a lot of internal, and the program that I was a part of does a really good job of that too. They have intern only days where they have guest speakers, they have panels of just internal people to help you build those connections within the company, but then also we had a lot of outside speakers that came too. So I think every program also will bring in people too. I mean, every program's a little bit differently, but yeah, I mean, it was easy to just to build connections over the summer once I had that position. So that was really important to me.
Very good. Shelby?
Kind of the same with the other two. My networking started as soon as I walked in the building for that interview. As soon as I said, oh, I go to Pitt State, one of the ladies chimed in and was like, oh, I went to Pitt State. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, do you know this person? We started that conversation and we made those connections. Also another thing, so my mom just happened to post on Facebook oh my gosh, Shelby had an interview for this today, super exciting. And then one of my best friend's dads is a police officer, and so he went to City Hall where he normally doesn't go, and he talked to the communications team and was like, this girl is really cool, which, oh, thank you. But he went and advocated for me, so I think that's just really cool, using those personal connections. So, yeah.
And they will take you far. And I think one thing too, some of you mentioned, as far as the strength of It goes back to the adage, once a gorilla, always a gorilla, and our gorilla network is very, very strong. And so, you can most of the time find someone that will work in some aspect of your company that is a gorilla alum. Piggybacking off of what Hope was talking about, I saw that, Hope, you had the opportunity, was it to go to a KC Current game?
I did,
Okay.
yes. So sports is actually my dream, is to do sports PR. And I got the chance back in April to go to a broadcasting conference, which not a broadcaster, but it was a great opportunity. And I met 3 local broadcasters in the Kansas City area. And I got their LinkedIns and kind of had maintained, well, I was in Kansas City all summer. I was like, okay, well, I'm here. Like, let's do something. So I got really, really close with one of them, Jillian Carroll, and she is a local color analyst for the Kansas City Current. And so me and Dr. Ship, we got to take a tour of it the day before, and then I got to shadow her in the press box doing the color analyst and then play-by-play on the match. And so that was an incredible experience. It was amazing. I got like a customized jersey, and I got to meet the players and go on the field and just to kind of see like the entire like play-by-play process for a professional sport, just from beginning to the end of the match. And so it was, and do like post-press. I mean, it was such a great experience. But yeah, I mean, it was like that all started from networking. I mean, that's you. If you have a conference, if you have a panel, if you have a guest speaker, take those opportunities if you're given them, and you're always given them. I promise you. So yeah, but I mean, she also knew a lot of Pitt State alum, like in this kind of field also, which again, like I'm not a broadcasting major, but just knowing people in this field, and so it carries a long way. Yeah. So
Excellent. Anything add to that?
I don't think so. I mean, I've made so many personal connections with even my parents being alum here. I know a person in every single like department here at Pitt State, it feels like, and I will run into so many people back in Kansas City and be like, oh, like I went to Pitt State, and then we make those connections of who they know, like Shelby was saying. And I mean, I've gotten a lot of people that have been like, oh, well, like my company has this department, like maybe you can reach out to us whenever you're looking for a job. Like it's just, like when you talk to people, it comes so easy, it really does. All you have to do is just go have one personal connection with them, and it takes you a long way.
Excellent. So kind of piggybacking off of the networking, let's talk a little bit about how you actually went about looking for internship opportunities. So, I know there's a variety of places. I know, Olivia, I'm going to go back to you. There's probably things that you would recommend students do as far as vetting things. But where did you start looking when you were like, I want an internship? Where was the beginning for you?
I mean, LinkedIn. LinkedIn, Handshake, those are all great platforms to really put yourself. If I see one mutual connection, friend, like I try to rack up all of these friends on these platforms, because that just leads you into so many different rabbit holes. And I mean, they post new listings every single day. So that's where I was looking. But that company that scammed me, they are on there too. So another thing, you have to be careful and really do your research, because I did it. I was like, oh, they're on Handshake, like they're a real company, and they weren't. So just, I was gonna say this earlier, but as much as like you're trying to impress these companies, you need to see if you want them too. You want to see if you want to work these for these kind of people. So it's a two-way street. So
very good. I think that's important to note, is that like you are looking for a company that shares the same values and representation as you, and that's super important, because you don't want to work at a place where down the line you're like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this, which does happen.
I mean, during the interview process, I also asked them their values. Like that's a good thing, like you said, to know is like what the company stands for. And when I switched over to my Blush Fitness internship, I knew that their values were aligned with mine, because I had been a customer of theirs for so long. So I knew that was like the place that I needed to be. So.
Very good. Annie, how about you? How'd you get started looking for internships?
Well, one thing I did to start off was I talked to my dad. He works in the construction industry, and while that's not something that I typically would be interested in given my strategic communication degree, he still knows a lot of companies down there, and I just kind of asked him for recommendations on good people, good companies, a place that I would thrive in, or a place that he thought would line up well with my career and where I saw myself in the future. And I kind of went from there. He had mentioned a few different companies, and then I found J.E. Dunn, and that's where I loved it. So
very good, Hope.
Yeah, I mean, again, LinkedIn is a great place. Keep that updated. You know, put your portfolio on there, your resume. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with your LinkedIn. You can also do newsletters now. I figured that out this summer, which is super exciting.
Cool.
So you don't have this like long post. You can like build it in.
Oh, cool.
I'm nerd about it. It's so fun.
To teach us the ways later.
Oh yes, we'll have a sit down LinkedIn. But yeah, I think. I mean, honestly, that's a great way to start too. I actually got the opportunity to be a part of a student org last year that worked with alumni. So I got to kind of make those alumni connections like in person through these events, and I spoke at a couple like guerrilla gatherings and kind of made those connections too. So I think that also helps. Just again with that alumni plug. I mean, it's huge and truly like once a guerrilla, always a guerrilla carries no matter where you go. So I think that's also really, really important too. I also reached out to our career development office, Kim Hull, who's the director. She's a really good friend of mine, and so I was like, hey, where do I start? You know, kind of asking her those questions as a professional in that field. And she was able to give me like a lot of resources and like how to work my LinkedIn to find the right spots and how to filter on Handshake and just kind of those opportunities too that I didn't really know much about. So to hear a professional kind of give you some guidance too, definitely check out the career development office.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. And piggybacking off of that, Shelby.
You know, I just looked mine up on Google. Like, I literally typed in communications internship, and then, like, it came up with a bunch of them. And, like, typically, like, you know, go through LinkedIn and Handshake, because I have had other opportunities come through there that I was like, ooh, I should do that. But, like, I genuinely just looked mine up on Google, and, you know, great came out of it. But, like, I applied to like 400 internships. I applied to a lot, and like I got an interview with one, and that's the only one I need.
Yeah.
Like, so it will take some time. It'll kind of be a tedious process, but like just like keep the faith that you'll get it, because it'll happen and it'll come.
That's really good advice. And I think it's something where all of you have had, I think, lucrative experiences in the classroom. You're all excellent students as far as, you know, the stuff that you've done from media writing to strategic planning, just even an intro in media writing again. But, you know, some of the things that we teach in this department are with the intention of helping you guys later on down the road, which you are finding out. It's not just being taught to be taught, it's taught with intention and purpose. So as we wrap up, I would love it if you guys could share one piece of advice for somebody that has the wide eyes, like, oh my gosh, I'm just beginning my start out in StratComm, or maybe they're not even in StratComm, but just advice for somebody generally speaking that is interested in finding an internship, maybe is overwhelmed by it. That one last piece of advice you would have for them. Annie, we'll start you off with you.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
You're the chosen one, darling.
That's okay. I think the biggest thing and the biggest takeaway from this whole summer's experience was just that you can't replace the value of that human interaction, that experience in a workplace environment. Just learning the dynamic of how to communicate with people on your team, reporting to somebody, you know, just going to lunch with a call, like that is so valuable to know how to do and know, you know, get out of your comfort zone and do those things. I think that's the most important thing to remember, and to just try to be confident in that.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful, Olivia?
I would say this is kind of what Shelby was talking about. Don't lose hope in when you're applying, because it took me a while too, and I started to stress, and also to just kind of focus on your own journey, because everybody around you will be finding internships. I got stressed there at the end because everybody had one but me, and I mean, just don't lose that faith, and everything is going to happen the way it's supposed to.
Very good, very good. Hope?
So advice I have is a little bit different than that. My thing is focus on your portfolio.
Ooh,
Even if you're a freshman or sophomore, start that now. You have to have that to graduate, but I would make a copy paste and do a professional one.
Nice.
And take out, you know, like the pictures and the class, and then kind of just focus on like stuff that you're learning, stuff that you're producing, and have that professional one. Put that on your resume, like a link or a QR code or just something, and then take that too. After speaking to lots of other colleagues and interns in my cohort this past summer, none of them have a portfolio. So it's not a very common thing, which is interesting because a lot of people ask for it.
Right.
And so for our department to like embed that into our program of like, you need this, so take the most advantage of it and make that professional one along with your class one. It'll take you so far.
That's really good advice. And just to, as a disclaimer, our capstone course in communication is the 699 course. It is taught in the spring of your senior year. It is something where you are required to have a portfolio in, and as you can tell, it's very beneficial when you're going out in the job market. So Shelby, wrap us up. One last bit of advice.
I definitely say, like, take advantage of the umbrella department of communications. Like, we always hammer it into, like, all of the people. We're just like, that you can literally do anything with communications. And I'm specifically StratCom, but I made videos this summer. Like I did so many things. Like I connected with people. Like I did HR stuff. Like I genuinely was a communications intern. And so just take advantage of all of the classes this department has to offer, because like it will help you in the long run, 100%.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Shelby, Hope, Annie, and Olivia for joining us today. My name is Kristen Livingston, and again, I'm assistant professor in the Department of Communication. If any of you are interested in switching to communication, please reach out. My email is kmlivingston@pittstate.edu. Again, thank you for joining us, and see you next fall.